Hello, everybody. This is Edgar Ambertsumian. I'm the founder of Stocks Bootcamp and the managing partner and the hedge fund manager of Avalanche Partners. I wanted to create these courses to basically for a few reasons. One, I want to make sure that there's transparency and there's a standardized way to approach investing and trading, because a lot of times people who don't know anything about the stock market, they get misled by these Instagram gurus. And the sad fact is that most of these guys, they're just interested in selling you like $100 video, which doesn't teach you anything. You not only have to constantly educate yourself, but you're supposed to constantly trade, and over time, maybe months, maybe years, you will get better, but it's not going to happen overnight. So I want to tell you this. It didn't come easy to me, so I want to make sure that you learn the right way, and whatever you have learned before might be obsolete. What works for me might not work for you, but I'm here to teach you what works for me and how I approach trading and what I've gone through in my life. So this video is going to be much longer than all the other classes that I'm going to upload, but this is the first video for basic training. So I came to this country as as a 13-year-old boy, and I had nothing. I had no father figure. My mother was struggling. My older brother was struggling. They both didn't know English. I didn't know English. So in the last 24 years, my life has changed. So I'm going to show you, I'm going to talk about in this video the timeline of my life events and what has gone on, so that when you do have, when you go through a hard time, please know that there are people out there going through way worse struggles than you are. So just because your life is great, don't go around telling people to smile, because you don't know what they're going through. And I'm not saying my life was the hardest, but I'm saying people have drastically different circumstances. And some actually die at a young age, so they're not here to tell their story, right? So anyway, I don't want to make this video any longer, so I want to get right down to it of why I entitled my company a bootcamp, because it is dedicated after my grandfather, Suren Davtyan. He was a captain of a tank brigade in 1942's bloody Battle of Veliki Luki, which is Great Lakes in Russian. He was fighting for the Red Army. So due to having dozens of POWs, he was actually fluent in German. He caught a shrapnel in his head and he came home. People thought he was going to die, but he came home and he had 6 more kids, out of which one was my mother. So under his command, a bloody offensive operation was launched against German Wehrmacht's 3rd Panzer Army along with several infantry guards, which ended in Soviet victory despite being outnumbered. So his strategies definitely paid off at a short amount of time. And this victory boosted Russian morale and was crucial due to capturing railway lines and choking out the supply lines for Axis powers before the harsh Russian winters began. So by the time you're done with my courses, I'm going to turn you guys into special forces. In stock market, you're going to know exactly what to do, what not to do. If I wake you up at 3 o'clock at night, throw you a scenario, you're going to know exactly what decisions to make at a short amount of time. Because let's be honest, the first 30 minutes of trading is very volatile, and you have to know exactly how to execute your strategies and think rationally and not emotionally. If you're an emotional type of a person, trading may not be for you. And it took me to overcome my emotional ways of thinking. And I will tell you later how not to put yourself into those positions and taking more risk than you can stomach. Because as soon as your emotions come into play, that means you just took more risk than you can stomach. If you're making $10,000 a month, you can easily risk $5,000-$6,000 on a trade. If your disposable income is not even $500 a month, and you just took a risk where you may lose $2,000 a month, chances are the next couple of days you're going to be depressed and you're going to be working overtime just to make up for that. So it's all relative based on your disposable income and how much money you have and so forth. All right, so let's get to it. So let me tell you how it all started. Okay, February of 2019, I approached 8 top day trader gurus of Instagram entertainers, I call them. Few academies. These guys make millions of dollars cumulatively teaching students on how to fail and lie about their success rates. This is so saturated that it makes me sick to my stomach when I look at my Instagram and Facebook feeds. So I approached these guys and I gave them the same ultimatum that Reed Hastings of Netflix gave Blockbuster's John Antioco back in the year 2000 when he wanted to sell Netflix for $50 million. I gave him 2 choices. I said, look, invest $200,000 in my company or become obsolete in 5 years, because whatever you're teaching doesn't make sense. Your students don't have a success rate after they finish taking your courses, or I shouldn't even say courses. There are not any decent courses out there. They're just videos of technical analysis. And 99% of these guys, they just do technical analysis. And technical analysis is only successful some of the time, not all the time, which turns day trading into, I don't want to say gambling, but an educated gambling. Because if you're only going to be successful 60% out of the time, and during that 40% that you're going to fail, you take a lot of risk, then it's going to erase all of your previous gains of that 60% of your success rate. So the newcomers that these people trick, they keep talking about this. If you make 6 successful trades out of 10, you cut your losses early, and you let your winners ride, that other 40% doesn't matter. Well, that's not true. Each time you trade, you take different size bets and you experience different standard deviations. So you trade different type of stocks which have different betas. And beta is the size of volatility, is the volatility measure of the stock you're trading. So if you take heavier losses on that 1 or 2 trade, it's going to erase all of your previous gains on those less risk trades that you have taken. And I don't want to jump the gun, but we'll get into this later on in my courses. So anyway, I gave them this ultimatum, and you know what they said? They looked at my Instagram followers and to see who I was on social media, and honestly, I didn't really care about social media. I still kind of don't. I'm finally getting into the habit of boosting my followers and being more active, posting videos on Facebook page. So they looked at my Instagram followers and they said, you only have 300 followers. Some of them, they actually ignored me. So I was like, all right, sounds good to me. And so I said, all right, you have no idea who you turned down. I'm going to teach everybody what is the real way. How does the real landscape of day trading, how the game is actually played, and what pitfalls to watch out for. The dark pools, the fractional trading, there's all these pitfalls, the market maker manipulation. There's so many things, algo softwares. There are so many different pitfalls to watch out for that these gurus don't tell the beginners, and that's why they're focused on selling people one course or whatever they have and turning their back on them. So instead, I wanted to try something different. I wanted to take you under my wing and slowly teach you the investing side, the swing trading side, the day trading side, and the portfolio management side. And when you grow the right way, you'll know exactly how to make the right decisions. So in the past, I've traded 14 years, almost 15 years now. I've performed over 50,000 round trip trades. I've back tested my strategies. I've lost several relationships to my trading passion. I've worked so many crappy jobs as an immigrant just to make sure my account stays above 25,000. So, and I also have been through a lot of hardships in Armenia and Kazakhstan. So, um, when basically Blockbuster board turned their back on Reed Hastings, they had no idea what was coming to them. So, in a sense, if my courses go viral, which I hope they do, even if they don't, I really don't care because I still make money on the stock market without the help of anybody. Uh, Guys, it's the best feeling when you really don't have to care about anyone's opinion because you have a skill that makes money that you don't need anybody. Um, I go to LinkedIn and I speak my mind, and some people are afraid to even like my comments and the articles because they're afraid of what their human resources might think of them. Those days are way over for me. So yeah, it's a great feeling when you know how to make money in the markets. So the two main reasons why I'm starting my courses, okay? Number one, I want to help every person who was born into a poor family and is desperately trying to change their circumstance, okay? Without the help of their parents. If you have parents, they're paying your mortgage and rent. Um, Eventually, what's the right way of saying this? Your life is way easier than it should be, and I can immediately tell who has the stress of paying rent and who doesn't. Um, and eventually, 20, 30 years from now, you're going to have a much tougher time dealing with reality than the people who became a father figure at a younger age. And the second reason why I started these courses is because I truly want to disrupt the wealth management business for turning down my resume. I got my resume turned down so many times because I was not a CFA or an MBA. I have a bachelor's degree in finance, but that's not enough to get a job as a portfolio manager. So I said, fine. There are CFAs out there looking for a job because they have no idea how to make money in the markets. And I have the skill that you guys need, and you're sitting there worried about my past experience and whether I have a stain on my tie. It's just so stupid. Anyway, so I started my own company, and it's starting to grow. And it's doing way better than some of these hedge funds out there. Got so many hedge funds went out the business in December of 2018 when Apple took a major hit because all of these guys are so overweight on Apple. It's not even funny. So there's a lot of stupid money sloshing around, and there's a lot of unskilled money managers out there because they got their positions through knowing somebody. But guess what? Being a money manager, you have to know what you're doing. You know, there's a saying, it's who you know and not what you know. Not in this game, buddy boy. So eventually, if you're a true money manager, you're a true successful money manager, everything goes out the window. What matters at the end of the day, when the stock market opens, is are you going to be able to take away my money? And you better be good in math if that happens. So, let me go back again. Let me just say one more thing. So many Americans, they're they have 401k plans, and during recession, these scumbag money managers, they become very passive. So they don't really care about you. They don't really actively manage your money because they care about the fees and the points that they charge you for selling you a certain security, whether it's a mutual fund or what have you. So I want to teach every average Joe to be able to manage their own money from their phone, because you can get a broker's account, you can have an app installed within 2 seconds, whether it's E-Trade or TD Ameritrade, and you can manage your own money. Sure, take advantage of that free money that your company gives you that matches you, but everything else, you need to pull that out and make better gains yourself. We live in a different era now where broker commissions are so cheap than what they used to be in 60s and 70s. So back in 60s, I think it was like $100 a trade. Now it's like $4.95, even lower. If you have $25,000, you can pay pennies in Lightspeed trading with Lightspeed Trading Broker and other brokers. So we completely live in a different technological era than before. So you need to take advantage of that. And the stock market is not for the rich anymore. The level field, I don't want to say truly 100%, but I'd say 99% fair. And there's a reason why I'm saying 99%, because that other 1%, there are still advantages that major hedge funds and financial institutions have over a retail trader. And we'll get to that also. So, what happens after you take my basic training course? Then you're ready to take my swing trading course. If you graduate my swing trading course, then I'm going to give you an exclusive opportunity to buy discounted common shares, common stock, okay, in my company. So the minimum amount of investment that I'm seeking right now is $50,000. You're able to come into my company for $5,000, which is 10% of what you're supposed to pay, as long as you take one of my courses. If you take the day trading course also, you will have the opportunity to buy preferred shares, not common. You also have the opportunity to buy preferred shares if you have taken the swing trading course and the day trading course. And the preferred minimum right now is $100,000. I'm letting you come in at $10,000. Again, 10% of the minimum requirement of anyone who doesn't take my course. So, people who should not take my boot camp, okay? So, I'm just going to give you random examples of people who shouldn't take my course. One, people who are looking for a closer parking at a gym. You get that? Good. People who get into the elevator without allowing others to come out first. People who tailgate on a freeway. People who can't get rid of their ego and admit that they're wrong. There's a ton of these people. I've met at least hundreds. People who don't let others finish their sentences before opening their mouths. People who haven't been outside of Texas their whole lives or any other state. So you get the idea. There's a lot of people who have no common sense. There's a lot of people that don't even know basic algebra. Before I started these courses online, I was teaching one by one, so I've taught close to 20 people. I've taught 17 people. And some of these guys have no idea like how to do basic algebra, like dividing percentages. I'm not even expecting calculus, you know what I mean? I'm just talking about basic algebra. So, as much as I want to take your money from you, I don't want you to waste your time. So, there are certain type of personalities and persons of intellect that should not take my course. So, now I'm going to go through the timeline of my life events, and the reason I want to tell you this, again, is whenever you piss and moan about how hard your life is and how Albertsons just discontinued the peanut butter of your choice due to a recall, I need you to know what I've gone through to get here and to stay here. Okay? So my work ethic is way different than yours. Despite I'm a very lazy individual. I'm extremely lazy because of my father. My father was a lazy alcoholic person. So I'm lazy towards things that I don't enjoy. Okay? It's not that I can do it, I can do it, I just don't feel like doing it. But if I enjoy something, I'll do it because it's not work anymore. It becomes a hobby. So trading, even though I was failing over and over and over, I kept trying because I enjoyed doing it. So in order for you to have a passion and succeed in something, you really have to obsess over it. And the way you obsess over it is you have to love what you do. Some people go on their whole lives without actually finding something that they love to do, and that's tragic. And Steve Jobs said, just keep looking for it if you can find it. Eventually you'll find it. Alright, so 82. I was born in Yerevan, Armenia. And a lot of Armenians watching this, they think that I'm Iranian Armenian because of the way my last name is spelled, but no, I'm actually a Russian Armenian. So I was born in Yerevan, Armenia when we used to be under Soviet rule. So we used to be a Soviet republic. Okay, I used to remember having Lenin badges and ironing my red scarf to go to school. And then once we became independent, all that went into the trash, and Armenia became an independent country, which was amazing. We didn't have to learn Russian anymore. So as 4 years old, I remember I was addicted to playing chess. I loved numbers. I had a photographic memory, and I loved to play Monopoly. I would not stop playing Monopoly until one of us finished the game. So then, age 6, 1988, a huge earthquake happens in December. I remember 40,000 people died, 100,000 people got injured. It pretty much toppled Armenia. And this was the first thing that I realized, that people around me don't know what the hell they're doing. I stopped believing in God and all these fairy tales. I realized that everything I've been taught was a lie. Everything from Santa Claus to God and all this BS. So this was the first thing that happened to me that opened my eyes to reality. Like, I was looking at my father as he was this father figure, this confident, you're a kid, you're looking at your father, you feel like he knows what he's doing, but nobody knows what the hell they're doing. They all act like they know what they're doing, but they're all losers, if you ask me. They are. They just act as if. They act as if they're confident, they got everything under control, but they don't. So the older you get, the more you realize you've been poisoned your entire life by all this BS misinformation. So anyway, 92, Soviet Union collapses. I watched my uncle burn wads of hundreds, throwing it into a fireplace because the banks weren't accepted back. So curiosity in finance began at that moment. I was 10 years old, and we didn't have electricity. Things were really bad. We had to heat up hot water to be able to take showers. Just things were really bad, and my dad and mom decided to move to northeast Kazakhstan, close to the Russian border, to have a better life for us, because they're trying to open a bakery with their friends and my uncle. So, they were looking for a better life, but it ended up being the exact opposite. So in 93, guys, my life was total hell. Okay, I was regularly extorted at school. I was beaten on a regular basis by Russian gang members. Then coming back from school, I was beaten by Kazakhstani gang members because both sides didn't like blacks, and we were considered blacks. people from Caucasus, they call them chorny, pretty much you know. Um, so there was a lot of discrimination against anybody who was a Chechen, Georgian, Armenian. So it took me a while to adapt and join a gang to kind of retaliate with my uncle. But until that time, I I was a lost soul. I was scared because I was a little kid, and I remember I was stealing cigarettes from my dad just to pay my weekly dues so that I wouldn't get stabbed in school. Um, and when I would get beat up, I would tell him not to punch me in the face so that my mom wouldn't find out. Okay, so very violent lifestyle. I've witnessed stabbings, I've witnessed rape on a regular basis. Okay, and the crazy thing is when I watch Borat and like it depicts Kazakhstan so clearly, I'm like, wow, this is amazing to me. And in a way, it's not funny because I actually went through that stuff. So um, anyway, so those 2 years that I was over there, it had more of an impact on my life and my mental well-being than the rest of the years in Armenia and America. So in '95, we moved back to Armenia. I was a different person, and yeah, and I after that, my mom decided she's had it. They sold all our real estate, and we came to U.S. And in U.S., I came as a tourist, and I stayed. And of course, our visas expired, and my mom she applied for permanent residency, and she didn't speak any English, and her interview didn't go as well, so she got deported, and because I was a minor, I got deported as well. So for a while, I was an illegal immigrant until I turned 18, so I could separate from my mom and start my own case. So I graduated high school with honors. I wanted to go to college, but I couldn't afford it because I had to pay cash. I didn't have my papers. I didn't have a social security at this time. So I've worked 11 different jobs, spent thousands of dollars on attorneys, until finally the Department of Justice gave me my green card, and they gave me the paper to get the green card, and then Homeland Security took over the immigration, and then they lost my case. So they couldn't find my case, and I was so angry, and I had to spend more money on attorneys, try to find my case. Anyway, basically I struggled, and as soon as I get my papers, I wanted to build my credit, buy a house, open a business, start trading stocks. It's as if that stop sign was lifted. So they pretty much unleashed the dragon. I was pumped. I was 24 years old, I think, and I had so much ambition, energy, and skill, but I was not wise. So I made a lot of money, and I started spending on stupid things. And I got into drugs. I got into just traveling and being with different women, just doing anything I wanted. Because I didn't believe in God, I was a mess. I just did anything I wanted. If I wanted to fly to Amsterdam and go to coffee shops and then go to the red light district, I was gonna do that. If I was gonna come home, go to a rave next day, like anything I wanted. Just very selfish lifestyle, let's just say. So 2004, I make my first stock trade in August. As soon as I make this trade, the next day Hurricane Katrina hits. Okay, I remember this clearly. Katrina hits, and my stock shot up 90%, and my gains were about $2,000, 1860. And I was hooked immediately because I was at a mortgage company. I was working as a closer, and my manager was like, "How'd you do this?" And I was like, "Dude, I just got lucky. I don't know what happened." And my company was Blue Dolphin Energy Group. It was a small cap energy producer in Gulf Coast. So I didn't know why it went up. So I was hooked, but I knew I didn't know enough. So I started learning, I started reading. I'm like, the gas prices went up to $6 a gallon in Gulf Coast because of this, because of Hurricane Katrina. So how did that become a benefit to the company? I guess increased revenue. Like I didn't know, I didn't understand, but all I knew is I made money. Okay, so that was enough. I was a young kid. I didn't even know what a recession was at the point. So after that, I started making money trading penny stocks. Again, like I would buy the news, make thousands of dollars. These speculative small cap OTC market news-based pump and dump stocks. I would get in based on news. Sometimes I would lose, sometimes I would win big. But I thought I was the king of trading. So again, I was traveling throughout Europe. I was having a time of my life. And I remember I came back from Europe and I saw my paid off car crushed into a ball, metal ball, with a police business card on it, saying that some drunk driver came and smashed into my car. And I didn't have full insurance, I only had liability at the time. So I lost all that money. So I bought a new car. At the time, I also got laid off. I remember I got laid off from my mortgage company, and I was just going through a rough patch. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to move to Austin, Texas, where there's more single women than any other country, than any other city. So I said, I'm just going to randomly pack everything into my new Toyota Yaris that I just bought in 2006. And I said, I'm just going to drive there and see what happens. I remember I had like, what was it, 8 grand in my savings. I took that and I started driving east. So then my partner came and we opened the first online furniture store because everything was going online at the time. So we decided to start the first online furniture store, which did pretty good until me and him got into an argument of the logistics and the leadership of the business. So we went our separate ways. And then in '07, I used to fly a lot. So one time flying back to San Antonio, the plane went off the runway and I really thought I was going to die. So I couldn't sleep for 3 days. And because of that, I started having panic attacks. You can see the picture on my Instagram at Stocks Bootcamp of the plane. So you can see how crazy it was. It was a small plane, but for 3 hours, San Antonio airport was shut down. They rerouted all the planes to Austin. And this news disappeared from the local news within 15 minutes. It was crazy. FAA didn't let news reporters to talk to us, and they shuttled us off, just gave us a bottle of water and said bye-bye. So then in 2008, by the way, these panic attacks later on became the main reason why I couldn't keep a job. Okay, I started having panic attacks at meetings. I couldn't focus sometimes. It was crazy. 2008, in college, I become Bloomberg Platform certified. This was kind of life-changing because I got to see how hedge funds actually communicate with one another and how they can place large orders that move the markets. They can place these large orders as invisible. So while you think you're tape reading, professional traders, they tape read, they look at the bid and ask, and they look at the lined up orders on the bid and ask side. Well, the meaningful orders that are giant, they're huge in number of shares versus to what's being seen on level 2, these orders are placed as invisible and they're tranched, they're layered out. So you're not able to know whether UBS is about to dump 17 million shares of Apple. So there is a tsunami coming and you have no idea that it's coming. So what's the point of technical analysis if it could fail any time? Okay, so this was very life-changing to what I've been doing all this time before. And then I'll show you this on the second module of this training in more detail. So 2009, I've been working in so many jobs. Washington Mutual, I got laid off. Well, Wells Fargo, I got fired for taking my accounting exam. Argonaut Insurance, I was a temp. FedEx, I got fired for being 2 minutes late. Greg and Valby, I quit because no, I quit. No, I got laid off because I didn't like the person I was working with, and they realized that and they got rid of me anyway. Um, so just one after another, I was just so sick of it. It's the same BS. Any corporate America, it's the same bureaucracy, same politics. Anyway, so at this time, my trading is getting better. I'm scalping. I found a niche that works. I'm playing video games at this point. Like I'm basically scalping oversold and overbought pivot points. And while other guys are trying to make 500,000, $2,000 profits, I'm making $30, $40 profits many times over. So I would trade 30, 40 times a day, making $20 profits, $30 profits, $40 profits. So I'm making $50 profits 20 times a day, that's $1,000. So this was working. And I just started focusing on this while going through college. And I finished college, and while I was graduating, things were getting so much better to a point where I was like, I don't need to get a job. And this is where I remember my account was above 25,000, and I traded it all the way close to 200 grand. Then I had a little bit of a business line, so I still had decent amount of money where I didn't have to go to work. Graduated with a finance degree, 3.5 GPA, just to tell people that I have a diploma and have something to fall back on, because I've been taking courses in junior colleges and then university, so I was like, might as well just finish it. So again, I was on a roll. I had my house. I remember I was remodeling my house to get new tenants, and then my father passes away in Yerevan. My grandmother passed away a week later. Granted, I cannot fly. I'm not flying because I'm getting panic attacks. I'm afraid that I'll want to storm out of the airplane. So I couldn't go see them, and I felt guilty for not being able to see them. And then my girlfriend left me at my worst when things were going south for me. And then my uncle passed away, and then I kept my strategies that was working before were not working anymore, because now people were trading momentum, and they would trade the first 30 minutes to an hour, and that's it. That's how you make money now as a day trader. You trade momentum. A lot of guys, they just short mostly in the morning, and they cover their positions by 10 a.m., 10:30 a.m. If you try to trade after that 10:30 a.m. until close, chances are you're battling algo softwares. Whereas at the beginning of the market open, you're still not susceptible to algos because there's so much more volume. Okay, so things were changing. I was not able to scalp small profits throughout the entire day like I used to be able to. So anyway, just one bad thing after another. And after that, yeah, I was just completely distraught. And that's when I started going more into swing trading, taking longer position. Although I would day trade here and there, but I was trying to develop a strategy which was more geared towards swing trading. So 2013, my accounts below 25,000. I decided to get a job, put my tail between my legs, as they say, go back, get a credit analyst position, build up my capital back up to 25,000, which is a very critical point for any day trader. So, and to my surprise, I got a great success in working as a credit analyst. All these credit analysts and underwriters quit their job because they were not comfortable with the leadership, and I ended up being promoted to vice president. I created this underwriting risk matrix system which was very standardized, very comprehensive, and it allowed the bank to lift its OCC consent order, because this bank was going through a restructuring process. They were trying to clean up their toxic assets, and what I did was completely favored by the regulators, and so much so that our CEO basically moved me to Orange County, and I was promoted. I got a fat six-figure salary. I was living in a luxury apartment. I was living the dream, and I had it made. I was trading in my office. Nobody knew, and anyway, my confidence came back. I thought I was doing good, and then the new CFO comes in, and the first thing they did was lay me off because I was making a lot of money. So in a sense, I was training my replacements and not knowing about it, and so yeah, I was laid off, and I had so much more expenses that I could handle with unemployment insurance. So pretty much I started tapping into my savings again, and I was like, you know what, I gotta make this work. I gotta reduce my expenses, and I gotta focus on my trading, and I never want to work for a company ever again. And this was the last time that I actually worked for a company, was February of 2014. So right now was June 2019. It's been 5 years almost that I have a few temp jobs here and there for like a month, but I pretty much haven't been working, guys. This was my new parachute trading system, which I developed in 2015. It combines fundamental analysis with technical. So all the finance guys, they look down on the traders. They're telling them they don't know. They're just looking at technical analysis. They don't know nothing about the companies that they're trading for, and so forth. But they cannot make the same gains as a trader. And then the traders are like, hey, we're making way more money than you are, even though we don't even know finance. So both sides, they kind of look down on one another. Even Jim Cramer, I remember on Mad Money, one time he was like, yeah, when the volatility was flat, we tried that trading for a while. He tried it because he couldn't do it. He couldn't make money anywhere else, because if the stock market's flat, you're not able to generate returns. So you have to take more risk as a day trader or a swing trader. So, and then when the market starts going higher or lower, then volatility comes back and you're able to generate more profits as an investor or somebody who parks their money on the short type securities. So what I'm trying to say is, I thought to myself, I'm like, why don't I combine both worlds into one? Why don't I use finance and use high frequency trading, combine it into one method? And this is where my two parachute system came into play, where if your technical analysis parachute fails, you still have your fundamental analysis parachute to bring home the profits. Okay? So this is why I'm totally against taking losses immediately and moving on to another stock. Why? Why don't you stay in a company that's going to recover and don't take losses, unless you really have to? However, if you're day trading, I understand you have to take losses, because if you're leveraged in a margin account, you better take losses, otherwise you're going to get a margin call. I get that. But if you're a swing trader, there's no need to take losses. If you're in Apple falls, you need to keep buying Apple. You need to keep buying it for the rest of your life. If you're in Walmart or Home Depot and Chevron and they keep falling, you need to keep buying it for the rest of your life. Why are you taking losses? So we'll get to that later, and how swing trading and portfolio management methodology differs from day trading. So then in 2016, I developed my slingshot method. I used to call it rubber band method, and then I realized somebody else, another true trader, I don't want to mention his name, this guy has rubber band term all over his slide. I'm like, okay, I'm not gonna call it the rubber band. I don't want this guy to sue me. So I call my concept slingshot method. It works in a sense quite similar and quite different than what he's teaching. My slingshot method encompasses in a swing trading style, but he's talking about a rubber band theory in a day trading style. So my slingshot method was developed to drive consistent profits and to make sure that you can recover your unrealized losses quicker in swing trading. For those of you who don't know the difference between swing and day trading, and I'll get to this later, day trading is you sell all your stocks the same day and you make sure that you're 100% cash at the end of the day. Swing trading, you hold a stock more than a day, maybe a couple of weeks, maybe a couple of months, so forth. So my slingshot method says when a stock goes against you, you have to buy more. Not only that, you have to double down. If it drops another 5%, you quadruple down. And you run out of money, then you start buying it with options. As long as you keep the right position sizes at the right sell-offs, then your last turnaround is going to have a very powerful momentum, and you're going to reach your break-even point much quicker. So then 2018, Stocks Bootcamp is where I launched. I said, I'm getting so sick and tired of repeating myself over and over. Guys, I hate teaching. You don't understand. I'm not good at teaching, and English is not my first language, and I hate repeating myself over and over. I don't understand how these teachers teach the same material 6 different periods over and over and over and over many years. I mean, I don't get it. As a matter of fact, I don't get any person who does the same freaking mundane task in a company over and over and over and over. I don't know. I think this is how you get Alzheimer's disease. You know, your brain stops working. You need to constantly learn new things. You need to constantly change. Push yourself. You need to challenge yourself. Otherwise, you're going to get brain dead. You know what I mean? So, anyway, launched Stocks Bootcamp, and I said, I'm going to automate everything where I'm just going to do this once, and I'm going to take people step by step through how they're supposed to get to my level, because the way I trade, you need many years to get to the method that I trade. And I'm going to talk about this in the second module, where the way I trade is I ride the waves of volatility just like a surfer rides the wave. He knows when to stand back. He knows when to jump off. He knows exactly what's going on. He adapts to the volatility measure. So that's how I'm able to switch from out of the money options to deep in the money options to at the money options to stocks, small cap stocks, mid cap, and then large cap. Take less risk, high risk, low risk, hedge, not hedge, stay on the sidelines, 100% cash, or it's a constant adaptation to the volatility. Okay, and once you get to my level, then you can manage it that way. You can trade it that way. But guys, I've been doing this every day for 15 years almost. Out of the several years that I was in Texas, in West Coast, I've been waking up at 6 o'clock every morning. That's why I have bags under my eyes. I don't know if you can see it. Like, I can't wait for Monday to get here. Do you understand? You're waiting for Friday to get here. I'm like, God damn it, it's Friday. When is Monday going to get here? Because I'm just looking at Bitcoin, because Bitcoin and futures is the only thing that's moving during the weekend. And Forex, I'm sorry. So, and I don't trade Forex. I did for a while. I don't touch Forex and futures for a reason, and we'll talk about that later. So yeah, then I started a private equity fund. It's a diversified conglomerate. I want that company to own different types of businesses. So that's the company that you're going to have a pass, an exclusive invitation to join as long as you take my courses and you pass it. So yeah, that's about it. 2019, my life is good again, although I've been through a lot of trials and tribulations. I know I've talked your ear off, but it's still, there's a lot of stuff that I haven't mentioned. And I'm really looking to make an impact, and I want to show full transparency of how the game is played. And it doesn't matter if you're somebody from the favelas of Brazil or Laos or Cambodia, you're poor, you're looking at this video going, I want to learn day trading. This is it. This is where you start. Okay, forget all those gurus, forget all those, anybody who just teaches you technical analysis, just delete. Okay, go get your money back, because just technical analysis in my book is gambling, because you're going to get lucky here and there, you're going to hit a few home runs, but when you're least expecting, the rug's going to be swept underneath you, and you're going to get caught taking a lot of risk. And when that happens, you're going to backtrack at least 10 steps. So subtract the capital gains taxes, subtract the money you're going to take out to pay bills, subtract your commissions, and then you can call yourself a professional trader. Some of these guys are living in their mother's basements, and they're out there flashing their Lamborghinis that they rented for $700 to show you that they're successful. Get the hell out of my face. The other day I had a meeting with this 72-year-old guy. He had holes in his shirt. This guy's managing a fund. He has almost $1 million under management. Old guy. You would never, I met him in an oil change in the ghettoest part of Las Vegas, okay? Because he's frugal, and I'm frugal also, because all the money we're getting, we're reinvesting into ourselves and our company and our education. If you're spending money on a depreciable asset, then I'm going to question whether you're spending all that money because you're going to get a lot of revenue from teaching, or you are truly balling out of control. Okay, if you're balling out of control, you better own the jet like Grant Cardone and John Travolta. Don't go rent the jet and act like you've made it. You haven't made it yet. If you have to talk about how much money you have, then you don't have enough of it. Okay, so anyway, I don't know how long this video, I'm recording it on my phone as well. It's 53 minutes, almost an hour. So I'm sorry to keep this long. Normally I'm a person who gets straight to the point. So you're not going to get one of those long drawn out stories of, oh, watch my webinar for this and that. And no. You're just going to go through the basic training, very short modules back to back. I don't know how many modules I'm going to have, probably maximum 10. You finish the basic training, then you're ready to go and take my swing trading course, which should be completed by end of July, possibly mid-August. All right, guys, that's about it. And lastly, I want to finish this up by saying, Rita Davenport's quote, which I like: money isn't everything, but it ranks right up there with oxygen. And I'm sure all of you guys know that. All right, guys, see you later.